we all have the Cowboys outside the top 10.
Yeah, they have to be.
I had them. I think I might have had them. Yes, I had them at 12.
Cowboys
I
are
have
12
the Cowboys
for me.
at 12.
Okay, so to me, I
We
had
have
them.
a similar list,
We
but
do.
except
Yeah.
for
Shocked.
being a fucking...
You mentioned the Cowboys, so we could talk about them. I had them at 11.
Okay.
I mean, listen, team that disappoints in the playoffs, we know, but 12 wins each of the last 3 seasons. I think their defense is still going to be great. I actually have more optimism about their defense this year than I did last year because Dan Quinn loves dime packages where he puts an extra defensive back on the field. What that does is it makes your run defense very weak because you're having corners and safeties and just people that weigh less and are less.
Yeah.
They're not bigger bodies out there defending against the run on these early downs. I think Mike Zimmer is going to get heavier with his personnel. I think there'll be a better running football, a run defense, and getting Trayvon Diggs back. It can't be understated. Getting Trayvon Diggs with Deron Bland, I think that's one of the best corner duos in football. Their secondary is going to be awesome. And then their defensive line, Micah Parsons was the best in the league at pressure rate. I mean, Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players in the world, and he alone transforms the defense. So when you ask me the question between the Cowboys and the Dolphins, the reason why I think the Cowboys are better is because I think their defense is better. I think their defensive coordinator is better. And then offensively, I think the Dolphins have more talent offensively at the receiver position and at running back, but I think Dak is a better quarterback. I think the Cowboys offensive line, even though they lost some pieces, I think they'll still be a better offensive line than the Dolphins. They still have Zach Martin and Tyler Smith, who was really amazing last year. Tyler Steen, or Terrence Steele, I should say. Yeah. Terrence Steele, his fall from grace is unfortunate because he was really one of the best right tackles, and he got hurt, and he was so terrible last year. But if he can be average, this unit is not as bad as I thought it was when they lost Tyron Smith. But I think the Cowboys overall have a better roster than the Dolphins, and what they really need to do moving forward is they just need to get a better run defense. They need to be better defending the run because that's been their Achilles heel these past couple of seasons with whoever they faced.
I don't disagree there. My one concern would still be their secondary, as I did watch Jordan Love do whatever he wanted to them on that wild card weekend. Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland, damn, do they know how to intercept a football. But when it comes to giving up yards, they're going to do that. But you make one eensy-beensy fucking mistake, they're going to go right there and jump right in front of it, and that is an interception. I understand how, obviously, turnovers are so valuable, but when you aren't getting those turnovers and now you're just getting gashed, then that's a result for you to end up losing a game like we did see against Green Bay, where Green Bay, they were running all over them. Aaron Jones rushed for over 100 and had multiple touchdowns. Or had at least one touchdown, and then Jordan Love threw for over 300 and absolutely killed them. Yeah. To me, that's where I still have a concern. Trayvon is still a excellent corner. Deron Bland was just an all-pro level corner, just broke the record for most pick six in a season. When it comes to giving up yards, though, those two definitely give up their fair share. I feel like Trayvon Diggs did take a step forward in that department, but again, Deron Bland has his own ways to own strides to make in that realm. And then, if I'm not mistaken, they haven't brought back Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore is still a free agent. So the secondary still, for me, I need to see how it looks before I really come to my conclusion. But then offensively, yeah, you did draft O-line, but at the same time, you didn't do anything to improve the offense in terms of getting another weapon opposite side of CeeDee Lamb. You lost Tony Pollard to the Titans. You bring back Ezekiel Elliott. I'm obviously interested because I love Zeke. He's one of my favorite players to watch. One of my favorite players, period. He was a superstar on the Cowboys his first go-around. He's a really good receiving back, and he emphasized that with New England. They took that away from him when they brought Tony Pollard in, and Tony Pollard was really their primary receiving back. Very interested to see if they go back to using him in that role, because I really do think that adds another element to not only Dallas's game, but of course Ezekiel has that in his bag. He can really benefit in that regard also. But not knowing who they have opposite side of CD that's going to consistently win, that really is why I'm lower on Dallas. There's just too many questions for me. CD's going to play. He's going to play week 1. I have no doubt about that.
He's about to miss their first game.
But the Cowboys need to start being smarter. Joel, you called them one of the worst franchises, or one of the worst ran franchises. I still believe that is strong, but as we get closer and closer to week 1, you haven't had a contract with one of the 5 best wide receivers in football. What are you doing?
Yeah, listen, with the Cowboys, I think they're a lot like the Dolphins. They don't play great against great competition. I'm higher on them because of their defense. I think offensively, what they did last year, despite ending in disappointing fashion, was pretty amazing. They had a light schedule, so we have to take that into account. Early on in the season, Mike McCarthy got criticized for his red zone offense because the Cowboys were terrible. But from week 6 to week 14, they scored at least 7 first quarter points in 8 straight games. The only teams to do that in NFL history have been the 2021 Chiefs and the 2014 Packers. They scored 10 plus points in the second quarter in 7 straight games, and they combined for at least 17 points in the first half in 7 straight games. The only other team that has done that have been the 2007 Patriots. They were ahead or tied after the first quarter in 14 of their 17 games. That's 82% of the time. This was a historic first half offense, but against great teams, they don't get that output. They're 25-4 versus non-playoff teams in the past couple of years. They're 12-14 against playoff teams. So a better record than the Dolphins, but it's still a negative record. And I think the most concerning part is really, I'm still waiting on Dak Prescott to have a moment. I think Dak Prescott is a great enough quarterback to have a moment, but to this point, he shrunk too much in the playoffs. Out of 13 qualifying quarterbacks, playoff quarterbacks, minimum of 100 attempts, since signing his 2020 franchise tag with the Cowboys, Prescott ranks number 11 in yards per attempt, number 10 in EPA per attempt, number 11 in touchdown and interception ratio, and number 12 in explosive pass rate, number 10 in third down conversion rate, and number 12 in accuracy. Since he's gotten his franchise tag, since 2020, out of 13 quarterbacks, Dak Prescott has been one of the worst 13 when it comes to the playoffs. He has played the Niners multiple times. He has played some tough competition, but he's somebody that the Cowboys rely on him to elevate his play in these moments, and he's not good enough.
It's fucked up when you go and you open Pandora's box and you wonder what could have happened if Aaron Rodgers wasn't Aaron Rodgers and in 2 plays put his team in field goal position to upset the Dallas Cowboys, Dak's rookie season, because Dak's first playoff game against Green Bay was amazing. He gets off the field and he has his team in a position to win the game, or I believe it was tied, one of the two. He ties the ball game, and then, of course, Aaron Rodgers goes down, and Mason Crosby ends up kicking the game-winning field goal in 2 plays. What happens to Dak's career, to me, is a big question because they win 13 games that year. Ezekiel Elliott rushed for 1,600 yards, is top 5 in MVP voting. Dak Prescott is the rookie of the year. They had a great defense. They had everything that year. What happens to me, that's always going to be a big question because we've seen after the Dallas Cowboys and their shortcomings in the playoffs where, yeah, they had a nice win against Seattle the next time the Dallas Cowboys were in the playoffs, but then you lose to the Rams. And then after that, you just aren't you don't elevate in the playoffs. And it's unfortunate that Dak Prescott has this label, but you already mentioned it. You gave the numbers. He hasn't done much to really help his cause. Losing 2 years back-to-back to the Niners, especially one, Jimmy Garoppolo was not good. And the year after that, that was probably Brock Purdy's worst game up until that point of his career. And you didn't outperform either of them. That's where it becomes a genuine concern where if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, what do we have to do to put Dak in a situation to win?
3-point game.
Both of them were 1-score games. And Dak Prescott, I believe, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That second go-around, he just, for whatever reason, he sees the Niners on his schedule and he crumbles. So to me, that's always going to be a concern. But again, it's not just Dak. I just look at the entirety of this team. To me, I need to see it before I feel positive about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had the Dolphins at 13, Cowboys at 12. I feel really similar about both of them. Really, all these teams, 14 through 11, so Rams, Dolphins, Cowboys, and Browns, all feel like really comfortable playoff teams to me, but I don't see a Super Bowl caliber season for them. The reason why I say they remind me of the Dolphins, or really there's the Dolphins of the NFC, is I think there's still question marks on both of these teams. And I think both quarterbacks also have similar question marks when we're talking about down the stretch of seasons and big games not having that one moment yet. The reason why I put Dallas over Miami, it's just because of Micah Parsons. Like Micah Parsons can
fair.
just straight up ruin games, and Dallas can screw up 5 different things on defense, but he could just be an offensive lineman in a second and a half and get to the quarterback and the play's dead. So that was really the biggest factor to me, where I just don't think Miami has that level of player defensively. Although, you know, that you have some great maybe overall talent, Micah Parsons is just like one of the 5-10 best players in all of football. And if you take out quarterbacks, it might be top 2 or 3. But you guys said a lot what I was going to say. I think the question marks for the Cowboys are pretty clear. It's the number 2 receiver next to CeeDee Lamb. Brandon Cooks does a fine job, but it's just a fine job. But I really worry about their run game. I know they're going to be a pass-heavy team, and if that's your MO, if that's what you want to do, stick with it. But I think there's going to be times where you're like, damn, I wish I had someone else other than Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott, because you're not getting much explosiveness there. You're not getting many big plays there. It's just going to be a very grinded out type of run game where it's going to be 4 and 5 yard carries and not a lot of 10, 20 yard carries. And then offensive line wise, you got a couple nice pieces. Zach Martin, of course, been there forever. Tyler Smith, who's turned into a really nice player, and Tyler Guyton, who's a question mark rookie coming out left tackle, who's filling some huge shoes, and Tyron Smith, who's been one of the best left tackles in all of football. So I think both them and Miami, they're teams that I look at saying, I want them to be more. I think they have the talent at key positions like quarterback and receiver and edge rusher when Miami's healthy. They have the pieces I'm looking for, but I've just seen too many years in a row that they usually come up short. And then plus the 10 teams I have in front of them, I feel pretty comfortable about too.
The Cowboys, Mike Zimmer, he has made it a point to tell the media that they're going to move around Micah Parsons this year.
Good.
And they created this new personnel package for Micah, basically showing pressure and then dropping back into pass coverage. It's going to be called a Lion package. It's like named after the Penn State Nittany Lions. And yes,
who?
Penn State Nittany
Go ahead.
Nittany Lions.
Nittany.
Nittany Lions.
There it is.
It sounds better off the tongue. Nittany.